Hey, it's PAX! Hello. Welcome once again. It's the GameFront pregame, or as it were, post-game podcast from PAX East. It's Sunday night, and tonight it's just myself, managing editor of GameFront, Ron Whitaker, and joining me, senior editor Phil Hornshaw.
Hello.
And the show is in the rearview mirror officially. We are now relaxing a little bit and hoping to tell you a little bit about what we saw over the last couple of days. It's been a little crazy. So,
by the way, if you want to engage in the PAX drinking game, it's still mentions of PAX for a drink. Apparently, what is it that I always say? I don't know where I say it.
Why does it have to be that way? That's a shot. And then if
Mass Effect comes up,
finish your drink. That's I think anyone that's listened to this podcast enough knows that Mass Effect always comes up.
Yeah.
So at the show today and yesterday, since we didn't get a chance to talk last night, we've seen a lot of stuff. I mean, everything from AAA games to indie games to, everything in between. And I really feel like one of the games people really want to hear about that we saw today is Evolve, the 4-on-1 asymmetrical shooter where somebody gets to be a big, humongous freaking monster.
Yeah.
And
yes, it was a game.
and Phil and I both got to play it today. And we really didn't get to play it enough, honestly.
No, it's we got one match in
and
with randoms. It must be said. It was just showgoers and us.
Yeah.
And we weren't on the same team either. So
yeah. And the interesting thing about Evolve is that the quality of your team drastically affects your experience.
Oh yeah.
In that.
Well, just as in Left 4 Dead, which is
Left 4 Dead the same way, but Left 4 Dead
did before.
Yeah,
right? So.
That was Turtle Rock's previous effort. I think even more in this game, just because the Goliath, the monster, is so powerful.
Yeah.
And the longer the monster's left to roam free, the more powerful it becomes because it gains levels and it gets abilities and damage boosts and that sort of thing. And I know in the match that I played, the monster was completely leveled up and had all of its boosts and then was ready to feast upon our very souls by the time that thing was over. I don't know about yours.
Yeah. In our game, I think we were a little more coordinated than yours. We were maybe a couple fewer 10-year-olds on our team.
At least one.
Yeah. Which, no hate to 10-year-olds, but sometimes hard to coordinate a team. Anyway, we did pretty good. We were able to run down the monster pretty effectively, although I felt like we spent the entire match chasing it. We encountered it, I think, twice, fought it fairly decently, and then it would escape and just disappear for a long time. So most of our match was just following the footprints, because as the thing goes, it leaves glowing blue footprints for you to follow. And we finally engaged it. When the monster levels up fully, which there are 3 stages, when it hits the 3rd stage by eating other things that are other creatures that are around in the game world, and the match area was huge. It was enormous. So once it fully levels up, the way it can win is to either kill your whole team or go attack this generator. I guess that funds or powers human civilization in the area or something. I don't know.
This wasn't explained very well.
Doesn't really seem like there was any need for a generator in the jungle, but whatever. Anyway, so we immediately hauled ass back to that generator to guard it.
Did too.
And so basically we fought Godzilla in a warehouse at the end.
Yeah, which is really which is not exactly the most efficient way to do it.
No, and also not the most exciting setting for that throwdown either.
Well, and Evolve has I think it has the potential to be really cool, just because you have 4 classes and everybody has a really distinct job. I think Phil played medic, right?
No, I played the support.
You played support. Okay.
So yeah, my job was my primary weapon is the laser cutter, which is a laser beam. I don't know what the cutter part of that is.
I was thinking of it like Isaac Clarke's.
Yeah, but there's you
cutter.
do no cutting.
No, there's no cutting.
Well,
you're trying to do cutting, but it's
you are
just not
cutting other monsters. Anyway, and then I also had a shield generator, which I could remotely. You just hold it and blast it like a beam, sort of like the medic beam in Team Fortress 2.
Right.
You can shield any one member of your team, and they are immune to damage, and as long as you have that power. And I could also fire off a field surrounding me that cloaked me and anybody who was in that field,
Right.
I guess. So yeah, I was buff powers basically.
Yeah, I played a trapper. The trapper has some cool stuff going on. They have a submachine gun that does a little bit of damage, but it's not like you're not going to be the frontline guy. But where it gets cool is you have a harpoon gun, and you can actually shoot the monster and restrain its movement, which is like
so it cannot flee.
and not only that, but you can actually shoot it like in the arm and restrain it from attacking for a minute.
There you go.
Which is great. And then you also have this. I don't remember what they call it now.
The dome, yeah.
Basically, you throw this device and it creates a big, like, electronic-looking dome.
I think they called it the mobile arena.
There you go. That's what it was called, the mobile arena. And
you force the monster to fight you, basically.
The monster cannot pass that dome. And in theory, the way you do that is you find the monster early, you keep it in the dome so it can't level up, and then you kill it before it becomes too powerful.
Yeah, or at least damage it significantly so that it's on its back foot.
Right, and unfortunately, in the match that I played, by the time we were able to locate the monster, it was basically Super Godzilla.
Yeah.
And when we threw it into the mobile arena, it proceeded to wipe the floor with us.
At you.
Yeah, it was like, thank you for trapping yourselves in here with me.
Right.
So
there are two other classes that we should mention. There's the Assault class, which carries a
lightning gun.
fairly close range lightning gun, which does like the principal damage.
I think it's important to note that lightning gun, you can when you shoot it, it jumps from anything that's in range of it. It will arc to.
Nice.
So I mean, it does damage to a lot of things at once.
The Assault class also carries around mines that they can throw down. Arc mines, they're called, which I found will damage other members of the team, namely me, if you're too close when the monster sets them off. They send you flying. It's kind of hilarious. So yeah, and then everybody has jetpacks. Oh, and there's the medic class. The medic
sniper.
Yeah,
medic.
exactly. The medic has a sniper rifle, which can also be used to, I think, wound specific areas of the body, and then has the heal ray like the Team Fortress 2 medic.
Exactly like it.
And it's really long range. Really long range. As long as
crazy.
you have a line of sight, basically, it works.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the other power the medic had. Oh, it's like a heal burst, so you can like drop next to people and hit them really hard, and heal them really well, or and you can revive each other when you fall down, and everybody has jetpacks, and so.
Well, I mean, here's the thing: it's really hard for us to make a subjective judgment right now.
Right.
After one 10 to 15 minute session with a bunch of people that nobody knows how to play the game, it's very difficult to look at it and say, "Well, this game's great. This game's terrible." Like, I think there's a lot of potential there, and I know Phil too. We love asymmetrical multiplayer games. I mean, so there's definitely a shot here for this thing to be good.
That said, they gave us a demo on the floor, so they intended people to try the game out and to come away from it liking it, and they kind of didn't. So, I mean, I'm going to judge them by what they gave me to judge them by, and that is that, honestly, it was not as much fun as I had come to believe.
Like, it looked like a lot of fun in what we were watching, which makes me wonder if it was the game or if it was just the team we were playing with, the circumstances.
Yeah, and surely when you play with people who are not completely new to the game, it'll be different. However, my issues with it, I think, are endemic of the system.
Right.
So first off, there's that you are chasing the monster literally through the entire match.
And it's huge.
And it's running away from you because
huge.
Its goal is to get strong before you can kill it, and your goal is to kill it as soon as possible before it gets strong. So you're spending your whole time tracking it, but in a not very exciting way. You don't have to do any work to track it really. Like the tracker guy can the trapper can throw down sound sensors, which
anytime the monster
then will trip.
Anytime the monster passes within 50 meters of a sensor, it shows up on the map.
Right. However, you're placing them where you are, not where the monster is.
Here's the thing: you can throw down as many as you want.
Yeah, which is cool. But
you can build a trip line.
Seemed like to us, he just went on a straight line, for most of the match, and
I don't
think we ever doubled back. Ever.
The other thing I noticed is that if the monster's in the jungle, which the guy who was playing monster in ours was, he'll spook like birds.
Yeah,
and that shows up as a red circle on your screen, and it's like monster spook the birds.
Right.
So it gives you an idea where to go.
Which is also cool. I just felt like we spent the entire time pursuing him with no payoff.
Right.
And when we did fight him, I fought him on 2 different occasions before the final fight. And the thing that I've realized is that it's really not satisfying to fight a giant monster or any multiplayer battle without actually like feeling like you've done anything, because the entire thing is you're chipping away at this monster's health because it's a boss fight
and it's huge.
So you're chipping it down and trying to contain it as long as you can and do as much damage as you can, but just to like hold your beam down on it and the other guy's holding his beam down on it and you're just kind of blasting it and diving out of the way of attacks and blasting it, it doesn't feel like you're accomplishing anything. And then it gets away and heals or levels up. Maybe, I'm not sure if it heals or not.
I honestly don't know.
I couldn't tell. However, it's just, I found that like not satisfying. Right?
It was really difficult for me to tell if the monster healed. It was because I was underneath its foot.
Yeah, fair enough. The fights were fun. You know, they're frantic. You got to get the hell out of the way of the thing, and it's cool the way the classes interact because they're all
very specific.
They all must keep each other alive in key ways, right? You know, it's like rolling a raid. Basically, and everybody has their job, and you have to be good at your job, and you have to be coordinated to do your job. But at the same time, like, it's just, as far as a multiplayer first-person shooter multiplayer experience is concerned, I felt like it wasn't as satisfying to me in general. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like that the challenge to it is going to be, I don't think Evolve, at least, and again, I want to preface this by saying that we don't really have enough information to make subjective judgments.
Really fair about that.
But I do think that Evolve is going to be a game that's going to be best enjoyed with a group of people that you know.
Right.
Where you have 4, I mean, the monster can be anybody, but if you have 4 people who are teaming up to play as the hunters, I think that game could be just amazingly fun. But if you know, it's the same deal. If you were playing with 4 people, just imagine playing that game with 4 people you'd never met, with no voice chat, on the internet.
Any Left 4 Dead situation,
just basically. About, Left 4 Dead is the same sort of game. It's amazing if you play it with people.
If you play it with people who you don't know,
right? But it's amazing when you play it with people you do know, people who are into it in the same sort of frame you are.
Right. So all that is to be fair, and there's plenty of time too. But I really do hope they take some time to, I don't know, maybe add additional feedback in some way in which you're like fighting it, or you're like searing off the boss's arms or something.
Did you hear I don't know if you caught it, but during the because before we actually played the game, we got to see a studio like video,
right?
And the lady that was sort of emceeing the video said that by launch there were going to be more classes and different types of monsters. So I mean, there may be more maps. So again, it's really early to make a subjective judgment on it. We're definitely not writing it off, but it was not as impressive as we'd hoped.
Yeah, that's
fair?
Basically where I fell on it too. It's like I'd heard some really good things about Evolve. I think the premise is really great too. I don't know that they're there. I spoke with a number of developers doing multiplayer games this weekend, mostly indie devs, and a couple things I heard from a few of them were about how like they want to increase the level of fun. They had more work to do to get the level of fun up, and I feel like Evolve might fall into that category too at this point, a little bit. Yeah, not to be totally naysayer about it, but it did feel like it could maybe contain it more, maybe bring more feedback in, maybe, I don't know, tweak it in a few ways that would make it a little more intense and responsive. I don't know.
Well, for those of you that have been listening to the podcast for the past few weeks, you might remember that Phil has been fairly bullish on Wolfenstein: The New Order. Yeah. Yesterday morning, we visited Bethesda, and I got a chance to finally play Wolfenstein: The New Order. And I've got to tell you guys, all of Phil's like optimism seems to be fairly well placed. The game is fun. It's really easy to jump into. It's got some like eye-catching moments, I guess is a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It's got. I mean, I was playing. There were a couple scenes that I was playing where I was like, "Is this really something that's happening right now?" And it was.
Yeah, it gets dark.
It's very dark, very quickly. Yeah. Like very quickly. Like it's not at all. It was not all what I expected. Mm-hmm. And you know, I don't want to spoil it, but there's a scene there, and it was like, wait, what just happened? And oh man, it is just crazy good.
This is just the first mission. So,
Yeah, I mean, I was a little disappointed that I didn't get to play it on PC. Played on PS4.
yeah.
And the game looked great. It runs great. Everything was good about it. But it wasn't on PC.
How was the build you played?
It was really good.
You didn't see like any weird clipping or anything?
I didn't see any clipping. I didn't see any artifacts.
Okay.
Everything ran good.
I played that, I think, that same build on PS4 when I played last time I previewed it, and it was a little bit wonky still. It seemed a little early.
There was a guy next to me his build crashed.
Yeah. Well, I didn't have any crashes. There were just like weird spots where, maybe not all the textures were taking and you could kind of see through stuff.
Okay.
I don't know. But I mean, it just looked like, in-dev building. And I was just wondering if they had cleaned it up or if that was the same build that you played. Sounds like they cleaned it up.
Yeah, maybe so. The other game that while I was off, murdering the Nazis, Phil was off seeing scary things.
Yeah, Evil Within, again. Hands off, again. I'm kind of bummed about that. I still haven't actually played that game, even though I've seen it in action, I think, no fewer than 3 times at this point. Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, whatever. But I would like to get it. I have my hands on it. If you're not familiar, Evil Within is Shinji Mikami's new survival horror game. His return to survival horror. Since I believe his last game was Resident Evil 4.
I believe that's right.
Yeah. And this is very much... in many ways, I feel like the spiritual successor to Resident Evil 4, which is what makes me excited about it, because I'm a big fan of Resident Evil 4, even despite escort missions. I still really dig that game. And it's very much like that. It's the same sort of over-the-shoulder, behind-the-back setup, and it's the very much Resident Evil-esque, strange monsters. It's almost... some of the psychological elements of, say, Silent Hill merged with the more body horror-esque stuff that came out of Resident Evil. Which, I mean, they both have that, but I feel like there were more gross mutations in some ways in the Resident Evil games. So, yeah, I saw that in action again, and got some really weird vibes off it. It's still really hard to say whether... Evil Within will really work, I have to say. I mean, and I feel like other journalists have said this too. They're kind of not... I feel like there are people who are not wowed by what they've seen by that game. I'm into it, but it might be that a straight Resident Evil 4-esque game just doesn't play as well.
Let's be fair here. Climate. Resident Evil didn't play that well.
Well, I mean, no, I don't mean like play. I don't it doesn't like resonate in the same way. It doesn't work in the same climate a bit. You know what I mean? We've come a long way since Resident Evil 4, so it's possible that just doesn't.
Maybe that formula is just not quite right anymore.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and the game is like in the build I saw. There's a lot of walking around, a lot of weird, like the walls closing in kind of moments. And then some fighting zombies, and they were very standard. Zombies! Yeah, they're the zombies of some sort. They were pretty standard, blast them with the shotgun. If you don't give them outright, you have to set fire to them with matches to kill them, which is a thing, I guess. But we saw that in Resident Evil.
Matches?
Yeah.
That seems a little odd.
Well, you have to do the same thing.
I shot this zombie. Here, let me get a book of matches out, lean over and set it on fire.
No, I mean you carry matches around, but you have to burn them. So, but when you throw a match on them, they go up immediately. So
they're like kind of like vampires in the daylight kind
sort
of thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean, what was I think it was Resident Evil 1. Even there's
maybe
the red ones. Remember in the remake?
Yeah, I think so.
Or remake?
Was it the director's cut?
No, it was later than that for sure.
Okay.
I think it was the GameCube version.
There's been so many versions of it, I can't remember.
Now I can't remember. I used to know this. I feel like it was GameCube's Resident Evil remake, which was very good, by the way.
Was.
But it had a variety of regular zombie where you'd kill zombies and they would die, or they would turn into these red zombies, and then they'd come up and they'd be like twice as fast and they'd be super awful. And the only way to dispatch them was with fire, right? You had to use a lighter.
Right.
And so it's like that, basically. And then there's, other weird monsters. And there's also that guy with the big box on his head.
Yeah.
I saw a whole mission, or a whole area with that where you're, like, evading him. And
I still don't know if that's like Pyramid Head's cousin.
I guess.
Boxhead Man.
Yeah. And you can kill him repeatedly. And the fight is hard. But you kill him, and he goes down. And then there's just, like, you go back to, like, turning the valve or whatever. You have to kill the steam to get forward, whatever you're trying to do. And then he will, like, tear... Or the screen will flash red with static. And then he'll, like, appear again in the room. So the whole thing has this very, like, dreamlike...
quality
hallucinatory quality, and it makes me think. I already know that I've already talked to developers on this, and they've talked about how there's like a psychological aspect. It's not like Resident Evil was with it's all viral basically.
Right.
It's there's at least some of it that's in the main character's head, or that's happening.
Maybe all of it.
Well, or that his mind is somehow affected. I mean, and even the title, "The Evil Within," suggests like. A weirdness there. So there are a lot of very dreamlike weird qualities to this, and I wonder how much of it is I wonder how trustworthy the narrator is,
right?
Basically, and that's all very interesting to me. Yeah, the Boxhead guy seemed to keep coming back, and he seemed to keep appearing as if you were hallucinating him, and then he was there, right? And then he did this awesome thing, like if you get away from him and then he can't get to you, say, around a corner or through a wall. He was like, he tore his head off and chucked it, and then he fell over and died, and then he, like, reformed.
Wherever his head was?
Box. Yeah, and he did it, like, 3 times, and it was gross and awful and cool. So I continue to have high hopes for The Evil Within, and I don't know if everybody else is as positive on it as I am, but it's my kind of game, and I have very fond feelings for the guys behind it because of the stuff they've done before. So I hope it'll be cool. That demo was another cool demo, but I don't know. I gotta play it and see how it feels. Really.
Speaking of games we have high hopes for, and that we know nothing about. I went to the Ubisoft's booth today.
Yeah. And
I was really excited because they're showing Watch Dogs, and I was hoping with the release coming up in May that
showing
humongous finger quotes showing. I was hoping that with the release coming up in May, we would finally be able to play Watch Dogs. Like, it's going to be amazing. We're going to get to play Watch Dogs. I can't wait. No, that's not what happened.
No.
In fact, what happened is they had a representative on a little tiny podium stage thing with a headset mic narrating a trailer that lasted about 2 minutes.
It was a trailer?
It was just a little video. It was just a video. It might not be the trailer. I don't know. It was all stuff we've seen before.
Yeah.
Okay? And, I asked people, I was like, hey, what are we doing for Watch Dogs? And they're like, oh, we're just showing this video, but it's all stuff you've seen before. I was like, Look, I really want Watch Dogs to be good. I really do. I want it to be amazing. I want it to be like the game that gets people into next gen and makes them want to play. And it's amazing, and it's great across all platforms, but I can't be excited about it anymore because they won't let me play it, and I'm worried. I'm really, really worried.
I feel like as cool as Watch Dogs ever seemed to be, the goodwill is really
run out
and burned up on it. Yeah. I don't know. I mean,
it might be good.
It could be good. It still looks good. A lot of it looks good. But yeah, I mean, and I've said this before, but Ubisoft is sort of infamous for holding back their games, their big games, from letting people play them. I feel like I've never played an Assassin's Creed game before launch.
That's probably true.
Even going to cons and stuff, like, it's always hands off for some reason. It's like, oh, you can play multiplayer, but the actual game you can watch someone play and they will tell you what they're doing. and that's always my experience. And I don't know, maybe we don't rate high enough to actually get to play the games. Not sure if that's the case, but it's kind of the Ubisoft thing to do.
It's kind of terrifying, though. I mean, here's this game. When it came out at E3 2 years ago, 2012, we were super excited about it.
And then they pulled the guns out, and we were a little less excited.
Yeah, there's that. Well, then at E3 2013, we saw some cool things from Watch Dogs. We're like, oh, this game is going to be kind of neat. It's going to be fun. And we can't wait to play it.
The multiplayer stuff they had planned.
Yeah. We can't wait to play it. It's going to be great. And then it's been like, there was the delay,
And then there was radio
and
silence.
then it's been
after
complete
that
crickets, radio silence, no
until
noise,
like last month.
nothing. And then last month, like, oh, it's coming out in May. It's going to be great. Yeah. But I mean, it worries me that this is the last event before the game comes out. Now, I'm sure that Ubisoft will probably have some sort of a press event. Maybe.
I don't know.
But I don't know. Point being, it's really hard to stay excited about Watch Dogs.
Well, and it kind of raises this question of why aren't you showing new stuff if you're about to launch the game? If you want people excited about it, is something wrong?
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, not to doomsay unnecessarily, but how come we don't get to see?
But it raises questions, and it's questions that I think Ubisoft needs to be answering, and they're really not.
I just think that Watch Dogs could be very, very cool, but yeah, read the reviews before maybe going to buy it.
I think that might be good advice.
And I think that about everything, but it's a little worrisome. That's all.
Yeah,
they were there and they didn't bring it for some reason. I mean, that's weird.
They barely brought it.
Yeah,
they spent more time. Honestly, this is a true story. You saw this. They spent a ton of time and money on Trials Fusion.
Oh man, the booth. The Trials stuff was awesome.
They had
Did you see those bikers?
They had professional BMX bikers on like a half pipe in the booth.
Yeah, quarter pipe
doing stuff all day long.
It was so cool.
But I mean, awesome. My point is, this is Trials Fusion.
Yeah, which is a mobile game, yes.
Which
no, I think it's more than a mobile game.
I think it might also be on mobile.
Okay, sorry.
I'm always thinking about mobile games. This is Trials Fusion. This is not a tentpole franchise.
Yeah.
Watch Dogs is the franchise that Ubisoft sort of built their next-gen presence around.
Yeah.
And we've got all this time and effort and money invested in showing Trials Fusion and having professional BMXers and everything. And over and in this corner, we've got a Watch Dogs video.
Yeah. That you've seen before.
That you've already seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's just weird.
I think it just rearranged. I don't think it was a video we'd seen before as much as it was footage that had been rearranged into a new video. Footage we'd seen before rearranged into a new video.
Yeah.
But still, you know what I'm saying.
I'm still excited about the underlying stuff that we know is in Watch Dogs.
Like, I super hope that it's good. I really do.
I guess we'll just see, but it was weird not to not to get to see it again.
So, the other thing, Phil today took a tour through a bunch of stuff that Devolver Digital's doing.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm not even 100% sure what all it was.
Yeah. Oh, I saw. I didn't see Hotline Miami 2. Oh, I spent some time watching other people play it, but I didn't actually get to play it myself. I played a little Broforce, which is a lot of fun. I played Gods Will Be Watching. I played Always Sometimes Monsters. And I think that might be it. I can't remember what the other one was, if there was another one. But anyway, I enjoyed them all. They were great. It's a great lineup. There's the indie I'm sorry, hang on. The indie game slate that was at PAX, and that is coming up this year is really great. I'm pretty excited about all of it.
Like, I feel like that the last couple years, everybody's been like, this is going to be the greatest year in video games. 2011 is the greatest year in video games. Yeah. 2012. You remember this. You remember these people.
I mean, it's all time.
All right. Yeah. Well, I feel like 2014 is going to be the year that people said 2012 was going to be.
Yeah.
Because, you've got an amazing lineup of indie games. You got games like Gods Will Be Watching and
which I had a lot of fun
This
with.
War Mine. And
could be cool.
There Came an Echo, that voice control game we saw.
Interesting.
You got games like Switchblade Monkeys you saw today.
Yeah, Secret Ponchos.
Secret Ponchos, made by Switchblade Monkeys.
Right.
It might be PAX is way too long for me to remember all these things.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You got, you saw the new stuff from Spearhead Games today.
I did.
We saw, there's just so many games, like the Indie Mega Booth. If you've never been to PAX, and you ever think about going to PAX, make sure that you go check out the Indie Mega Booth, because it is just row upon row upon row of amazingly cool indie games.
And super cool people who made them standing
that
by.
want to show them to you.
Yeah,
that are dying to tell you about them.
You could realistically, well, hell, they have Indiecade in LA in October, and it's basically the Indie Mega Booth, but its own con.
Yeah.
And it's all outside, and it's awesome. Anyway, you could do a whole show basically with the Indie Mega Booth. And,
you really could.
And it would be worth your money. So if you ever get a chance to go to PAX and drink and check out the Indie Mega Booth, you really should. Because it's very cool.
But I mean, here's the thing about the Indie Mega Booth. You can go, we go to all sorts of shows. We go to E3, we go to PAX, we go to QuakeCon, and we
That's
go
about
to Comic-Con.
Oh, yeah, Comic-Con. And other PAX.
And other PAX, and then,
then we go
press
home.
events and all the other things. But PAX is one of those shows where anybody can go, as long as you can, click fast enough to get a ticket when they go on sale. Oh, my God. And... great. There's AAA's there. Bethesda was there, and Ubisoft was there and stuff.
2K
But the coolest stuff that is there is the indie stuff, and you can
always.
walk up. It's one of the only times that as just the average gamer can walk up, pick up a controller, play a game that hasn't come out yet, and talk to the people that made it face to face about what's cool about it.
Yeah,
and that's amazing.
It's super great. And people waited 4 hours. To play Evolve yesterday.
Yeah.
They capped the line. You had to leave, and they're like, come back in an hour, and maybe you can get in the line for 4 hours if you want to do that.
It's crazy. Whereas
you go to the Indie Mega Booth, you go to the Indie Mini Booth, anywhere actually on that side of the show floor, and you're waiting, the 10 minutes it takes to get through a demo.
Tops.
Because there's somebody on it already, and then you hop in yourself.
And, I mean, just to go back to something there, I mean, the show floor is only open 8 hours.
Right.
It opens at 10 and it closes at 6. And people were sitting in line 4 hours to play a 10 to 20 minute demo of Evolve. Now, don't get me wrong. Again, Evolve could be a great game, and I've seen them do the same thing for other games. People really want to see this new stuff, and I totally get that.
It was super cool. I mean,
but it's crazy.
Like it's present.
But it's crazy. Yeah. I mean, I just can't see waiting 4 hours in that line. And we talked to a couple people from 2K that said, they really didn't want to turn people away, but there were people that had to be turned away because there just was not enough capacity to get them through the line.
And they had a lot of stations too. They were running three matches at a time.
Yeah, they were running 15 people at a time.
Yeah, exactly. That's 5 computers
per station,
or 5 PlayStations, or whatever it was. Yeah, per game, running all the time at 15-minute intervals at the outside.
Yeah,
right. 50, maybe 20.
Going as hard as they can for 8 solid hours.
Right, for 3 days.
Yeah,
and
there's just a ton of people at PAX, true. But I just hate to see people standing in line that long.
Yeah,
and there's so many good games they could be seeing. Come on, there's all kinds of amazing stuff out there, and the Indie Mega Booth is where it all is. So definitely go check that out if you ever make it to PAX. I'll tell you what I saw yesterday that, gosh, I was really excited about. Like Phil's told me to shut up about it twice already. I went to NVIDIA's booth.
Oh, yeah.
And I finally got to play with the NVIDIA Shield. And I think I'm on record, pretty strongly, making fun of micro consoles in general.
Yeah, you're pretty negative on
like
all new technology.
Yeah, I don't like new things. But I think I'm pretty much on the record as saying, gosh, this new technology sucks, and you kids get off my lawn. But the Shield, the Shield caught my eye a little bit. For those of you who don't know what it is, it's basically a handheld gaming device made by NVIDIA. It has a Tegra 4 chip in it, and when you open it up, it has a 5-inch screen and a console-type controller, sort of a hybrid. The controller type would be half Xbox, half PS3, kind of a hybrid thing.
Yeah.
And the sticks feel like a 360 controller, but they're situated like a PS3 controller.
Ugh.
So,
I hate that.
It's a far superior layout.
How? Why? It doesn't make any sense.
Because it is. Anyway.
Go like this. That's how you play your games like that.
This is you missed your chance. But here's the thing. What this thing does is it hooks into the Wi-Fi in your house, and it allows you to stream games from your PC right onto the Shield and play them with a controller. And I was playing Borderlands 2 on this thing in the palm of my hand. It was amazing.
And on the PAX Wi-Fi, right?
And that was it was on their booth Wi-Fi.
Okay, so
but the thing is, you're in the middle of
PAX, but
better than PAX Wi-Fi, but still, you're in a room with like 7,000 Wi-Fi transmitters going simultaneously,
right.
so the bandwidth is not great.
You know how they're like, you should move your router away from metal things so that it doesn't get interference. Yeah. Well, yeah, that was the place.
Yeah, there was nothing but metal things. Their metal things were everywhere.
Yeah.
So the Shield, I mean, streaming is amazing. You can pop it open and start playing a game on your computer, and you can pause that game, jump to a different game, and keep playing.
Right.
Or you could even jump to streaming it off a different PC if you have more than one PC on your network. Nice. You can jump from PC to PC and keep both games paused and jump back and forth between them. It's crazy. And you can also play games on the device. It runs a 4.4.2 KitKat Android, and you can play games in the Android. Anything in that space will run on it from Google Play. NVIDIA let me play a full operating Android version of Portal.
Yeah. On
the Shield. It was crazy. It was insane. And the final thing that it does that might be the coolest thing ever, because we've talked about Fire TV, we talked about Ouya, talked about all the mini whatever console boxes there are, and the biggest thing is, God, why do we want to plug this thing into my TV? I've got all these things already.
Yeah.
Well, the Shield will plug into your TV,
right,
with an HDMI cable,
which is cool for.
But it keeps streaming. You can stream PC games to your TV.
Yeah.
And it has Bluetooth, so you can use a Bluetooth controller to play it wirelessly. And it's $199.
Yeah, that's pretty reasonable.
Well, I believe the actual price is $249, but at PAX they were running a sale for $199.
Yeah.
So, but either way, $249 for that.
Seems
not bad. Good. Not bad. Like I tried to get out of the booth with one. They ran me down. Yeah. I'm kind of slow, unfortunately. I thought it'd be great to have on the plane, but it didn't happen. So,
can't stream Wi-Fi in the air.
No, but I still could have played Portal.
That's fair.
So,
yeah, it's really good. I mean, that would save me from having to drag my tower out in the living room.
Yeah, I mean, and the other thing is, if you're streaming a game through the Shield, and you're like, screw this, I want to go get on my mouse and keyboard. The game is running on your PC, so you just go walk in there and start playing it.
Right.
And forget the Shield. So, we mentioned Secret Ponchos.
Yeah.
It's a game we talked about last year.
Yeah, extensively.
And this is your first chance playing it. So, what did you think about it?
I liked it quite a bit. So it's kind of a 2-stick, top-down multiplayer shooter, set in a cartoon, comic-y Wild Wild West, or not Wild Wild West, but Old West. Wild Wild West is an actual property. Yeah, and it's cool. It's so you like there are multiple classes and they all fight differently, and basically the goal is to shoot each other with various kinds of revolvers and stuff. And it was very cool. I played the free for all mode that the game has, and it was just kind of frantic and crazy, and everybody has different ranges and different abilities. All the characters are very different from one another.
They're very unique.
They all play differently. So you vary your tactics by character. You vary your tactics by which character you're fighting. What the situation is. It's significantly tactical as well as frantic, and I liked it quite a bit. Everybody has like an alternate fire for their weapons. So I played Kid Red at first, which is a class that is kind of a dual revolver speed shooter kind of guy. His range is short, but he's fast, and he has more ammo than most everybody else, so he can unload kind of a lot of bullets, but he's got to close the gap on people pretty quick. So, I can't remember the point I was going to make. Anyway, it's but so that played very significantly differently from the Killer, which is kind of a grizzled old gunslinger guy. Who now I remember. So the Kid Dead has the dual shooting, boom boom boom, left right kind of shoot, and where you just unload ammo on somebody, or you can switch to alternate fire and kind of get like a bigger, both guns at the same time shot that stuns people, knocks them down, gives you time to basically close in and blast them before
or reload.
Mm-hmm.
Because reloading that game is
key.
Huge.
Reloading is very key. So yeah, what you do and when you do it is very important. And then he played very differently from the killer, the gunslinger guy. And that guy had only one gun, but he had a little more range and a little more power behind his weapon than Kid Red. So he was a little bit, he's probably, I think he may even have been the rangiest of the characters. So
rangiest.
So you stay further back. And but he also had his
It's Sunday at PAX and we're inventing words.
Yeah, well. He also had this quick draw alternate fire where, you don't, first of all, you don't pull the trigger, you just aim. Right?
You fan it.
Yeah. Well, no. You just, because you use your right stick to aim where you want to shoot, but you pull the trigger on your PS4 controller. But not with this, because instead you just aim it, and it's as if he drew it out of the holster, and then he blasts all. Yeah, like you said, he fans out all 6 of them, right? So you do it right, you hit the people with it, and you
it tears them up pretty good.
Yes.
Yeah.
But the aim of it is difficult. He's much. It's much more precise than the other characters. And then there are a bunch of other characters too. There are a couple other classes. There's one who's a matador. It's all close range. She's real quick and she has a sword. But the recharge on her range weapons takes a much longer, and she has less health. There's also this other guy who had a lasso and a shotgun.
Well, he's amazing.
So he was all about bringing people into him.
Yeah, he was great.
And then there was a former Civil War soldier who had a musket.
Yeah.
Right. So he was real big and slow, but he had this great impale move, and so yeah, it's very fun. And what's cool about it is that we played free for all and it was frantic, but there are other modes coming, like 1v1 and 2v2, that are going to be much more tactical. And there's this other thing where you can take cover, and if people lose you for line of sight, you don't appear on the screen anymore, right? And so there's some abilities you can blind people and they lose you, you go invisible on their screen, not everybody's screen but theirs, or you can duck behind a wall. And if people don't have, like I said, from the sides, they don't have direct line of sight on you, they can't see you. And so, but you can still see them, so you can kind of plan or hide, reload, that sort of thing. And it was, so there's a lot of different elements to the play. It's pretty deep, and it was a lot of fun. And they're coming to PC now.
Yeah,
which is cool. And in fact, what I learned today is the plan is to kind of fund the PC version, because originally it was made for PS4 through early access. That was kind of their big news. So expect early access for Secret Ponchos in a few months as they run up to a Q4, I think, or late Q3-ish release. I can't remember exactly what they said. But yeah, so you'll be seeing it on early access pretty soon. And I had a good time.
I'm super glad to hear it's coming to PC. When I talked to him last year, that was one of their goals.
I should mention that it's gamepad, though, on PC.
Yeah, I know.
Because I don't really think it would translate.
No,
not
really.
To WASD.
I know that's one of their big goals.
Yeah.
Last year was to get a PC version together, and sort of the rise of early access has made that possible.
Which we've been kind of negative on early access, but this is one of those situations when I think
it helps.
That this is the way the market is supposed to work. This is the way that early access should function, and help people to make things happen
that would not otherwise happen.
This is because I feel like this way because Secret Ponchos is a game that you will see, you can play, it's testable. It's a complete quantity. It's not just like some airy pipe dream or a half-built game
or a cinematic trailer.
Secret Ponchos will be out on PS4, and early access will allow a port to be made funded by people who want to play it.
And
on
as
that
I
port.
understand it, the PS4 version will probably be out before early access starts.
I'm not sure. I think they're pushing it back.
Are they?
I think they said that. I think they want to do them both at the same time.
Okay,
because they're going to take that time because of the online multiplayer. They want to take that time to do balancing and make sure they really, really nail that part.
Right. So, with 3 days of PAX behind us.
Yep. PAX.
Drink. It's...
Why is it like that?
Oh, God.
3 days.
Oh, God, finish your drink. Or right. Take a shot. Take a shot.
There you go.
We have to... I mean, we don't typically do Best of Show Awards for PAX.
Yet.
yet.
No, I don't know.
I guarantee you nothing. I guarantee you nothing. But what I'm interested to hear from you, and then I'll kind of chime in too, is was there a game that you saw like at the show, not necessarily like a best of show, but like maybe most surprising or most interesting or something that you didn't know about that you saw there that's like, oh, that's going to be really cool?
I'm thinking.
Well, you think.
Yeah, you go ahead.
Because you know what mine is.
I saw a lot of things. Let me preface this by saying I'm not thinking because I saw a lot of things that were mediocre. I saw a lot of really good things. I'm not sure that they necessarily muscle each other out. So let me give it.
Right. And for me, like the thing that surprised me the most, like completely blew me away, was Grey Goo.
Yeah, that's what you're saying.
Grey Goo. And for those of you that don't know, Grey Goo is a new strategy game, real-time strategy game made by Petroglyph, people that did like Star Wars Empire at War and Panzer General.
Right.
And oh my gosh, you guys, if you're a fan of like old school base building and army building and, you know, combat sort of as the three legs of the stool in real-time strategy, this is going to be a game that you're going to want to check out. It is a lot of fun. The factions are very unique in that, you know, it's not just a cookie cutter, oh, change the skin and they're, you know, you got a new faction. No, this is so the factions are the humans, and the humans have all this technology. They can teleport units. They can build these really wild looking bases, and one of the really cool features they have is they can build walls, and those walls not only block enemies that are coming through them, but they block enemies from seeing what's behind them as well. And then being able to block that line of sight, kind of like Phil was talking about the secret ponchos, it brings a whole new level to that strategy. Because while you can see the wall, you don't know what's behind it. And the human troops, the tanks and stuff, they don't need gates. They can just phase right through the wall.
Oh, shit.
And the enemies can't. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you have to be, you know, you can get up to the wall, but you can't see what's behind it, and it's like, oh my gosh, what could be, you know, it could be,
and then troops could appear.
There could be like a weak, there could be a weak little base back there that you could easily destroy. Or there could be like, you know, the 9th Air Cav back there. Right. You just don't know what's going on, and so it's really cool. I mean, the game, it looks really good. It's getting ready to go into alpha,
right?
Hopefully, they're if I remember correctly, they're talking like a holiday 2014 release.
Okay.
So, and there's 2 factions that are being shown now: the humans and the betas.
Right.
And then the third faction, they haven't shown off anything with it yet. So we're gonna have to wait and see what that is. But I mean, if you like those games, and I love those games.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I love those games. Mm-hmm. Like my illicit love affair with Company of Heroes 2 is well documented. Not Company of Heroes 2 even. Company of Heroes 1 is even worse. So, and Command and Conquer and all those other... let's not even go there. Just suffice to say that I love real-time strategy games, and after sitting down and playing this one for about 45 minutes and playing part of a skirmish match, I'm really excited. And I'm really excited about the fact they're including a skirmish mode. They're including a full campaign mode for each of the factions. They're going to have online multiplayer. You can do, you know, 2v2, 3v3, 4v4, either against other people or against the AI. It's just going to have a ton of the things in it that we all remember we really wanted. And, you know, this is what we want our RTS to do, and this is doing it. So keep an eye out for it. I mean, that was sort of my surprise game of the show because, I mean, we really weren't even planning on seeing it. And I happened to walk past the booth and was like, what is this? I have to see this. So that was it for me. I don't know.
Yeah. I still am struggling to say any of the games were really standouts over the others.
Right.
Although I will talk about the one that I had a very good time with today. So I'll just pick one at random, kind of. Not at random because I have a bias for why I'm picking this, but I'm going to pick it. But it's not necessarily the best. Greatest. I did see some great stuff. There were a lot of good really games excited to write everything about it. And I saw Clay's Invisible Ink. I saw Spearhead Games, Project Cyber. I saw all that stuff at the Devolver booth. I saw Secret Ponchos was super fun.
You even got to go to Unknown Worlds, too.
I did. I saw Subnautica, which was very cool, and their new combat mod for Natural Selection 2. I think all that stuff is cool. I had a really good time with it. However, the game I played today that stuck with me the longest, I think, was Gods Will Be Watching, which is from Deconstruct Team. They're a Spanish developer, I believe. And so that started as a Ludum Dare game.
Right.
On the theme of minimalism. And the idea was to do a highly affecting point-and-click thriller in one scene. Right? So one setting, one set of characters, and keep it going. What they've expanded it to be now, since then, is a sort of a life sucks moral choice simulator. No, like it's so.
I thought that was what PAX East is.
Oh man, it's not as bad as this. You didn't have to eat any members of your team
Yet.
Yeah, so Gods Will Be Watching puts you in these really shit scenarios and asks you what you're going to do with them. And the tagline they have right now, that referring to one of the scenarios, is it's a survival scenario with a bunch of people who are, struggling to find food and stay alive. And the tagline is something like, should you eat your friend, or will you eat your friend because you have to, or because it's easier? Which is a great, just question to put you to in a survival situation when everybody's freezing to death and looking for food and there's not enough and everybody's going to die. That's one of the scenarios of the game. It's actually like a team, a science team from a ship. I believe they crash land on a planet where there's like this deadly virus and there are these crazy people and it's cold. So you're struggling. You have to, you spend every day of this thing, and it's point and click adventure, remember that. But you have to divide up your resources as to like what you want your people to do and how much time they have to do it. In order to get off the thing, you have to repair the ship radio, and and it's going to take 40 days. And that's if you work on it every day, right? That's like a crazy amount of time. And so you've got like 7 people, and you have to keep them alive and together and from not killing each other and not going crazy and not succumbing to this virus and not starving to death and not freezing to death for 40 days. And you only have so much time to do everything every day. You can only complete so many actions in a single day. So, at some point you're like, well, if we're out of food, should we eat the dog? And you can eat the dog.
These are the kind of questions I ask myself
for real.
At least once a week.
And that's what it wants to put you through is if you start to fail, if you're a bad leader, and bad leader is a very relative term from what I played, you might have to shoot your engineer because he's kind of useless and he's eating too much food, and or your doctor might go crazy and run off, or you might get attacked by bandits, or you might run out of wood, all kinds of stuff. And so that's one scenario. That's the scenario that I've heard about most. I didn't play that scenario. I played a different one in which you play this dude. The character throughout is his name is Sergeant Burden. Burden, like it is his moral burden, and which is great. And yeah, so he and his partner named Jack are double agents who have infiltrated this techno terrorism unit from this government, right? And so they're undercover, and in the course of doing a mission undercover for these terrorists, they're captured by enemy forces and tortured. Right?
Right.
So you get into the scenario during the torture, and it's just 2 dudes lashed to chairs, back to back, and this awful dude comes in with his buddy, this blonde guy with sunglasses in a basement, comes in and tortures you. And you have to survive it for 20 days, and then your guys then your dudes will come save you. And so the mechanic of it is you have to carefully goad the guy into
out.
Well, exactly. You have to goad the guy into attacking you or not attacking you, so as to keep him from killing you by getting too overzealous. But you can't just give out information, even if you lie, because first of all, it takes time to lie. You don't just have a lie ready to go to answer his question. You have to think on it. If you use the think option, he just pummels you because you didn't answer, but you get closer to convincing him with a lie, right?
Right.
Which is good because you may or may not want to give out the information about the terrorism unit. That's up to you as well, or about yourself. That should be said. But even if you do lie or if you do confess, eventually, if you run out of information to give him, or he gets enough,
you become useless.
You become useless, and he kills you.
Beautiful.
Right? Now, there's another aspect of it, too. There are two of you. Certain answers will cause the torturers to hurt both of you. Certain answers will cause the torturers to hurt only one of you. So if you're careful about it, you can balance this. You can game the mechanics, which is what you're supposed to do, in order to balance the damage that the two of you take, and hold back the information long enough to survive and be rescued. But like, it's very hard. I got my guy killed. Not my guy, not Burden.
The other guy.
But Jack, the partner, he was killed on like the second day because I messed it up. Well, and then okay, so midway through that, one of the terrorists infiltrates the place and he sneaks in at night when they're gone.
Right.
Right? And he's like, it's going to take us 20 days to get our shit together to get you out of here. In the meantime, every night I can sneak you one thing. I can bring you painkillers, which will mean that the torture is less effective and you die slower. I can bring you medicine, which will bring you back to full health so that you will be less close to death at the beginning of each day, which is very useful. Or I can bring you information, which will make your lies more effective and you'll get them sooner. Right?
Right.
So it's all balancing from then on out.
That almost sounds like a kind of a take on...
and it's rough.
Like Papers, Please.
Oh, yeah. Yes, it's. I feel like that's definitely, there's been an inspiration there. And yeah, it was... so it's rough. It's very much, it's a game about failure, as the devs were telling me. And you are trying to figure out how to fail in the best possible way. The reason I picked that, because one, it was just like really intense. Like they cycle through a number of different tortures. They'll beat on you, they'll tear your teeth out, and they have different effects too. Like you'll die much more quickly from getting your teeth torn out than say getting punched in the face. So when the punching in the face comes up, you might change your tactics a little bit to getting it through. And what else? Oh, I was told by the devs that I got out of it. I got through, and they told me I was the only person who'd gotten through that one, which made me feel pretty good. Even though I got my partner killed.
You didn't like him anyway, though.
So that was kind of why I picked it, because I got to gloat a little, but or brag.
It wasn't even a humble intense brag. That was just a straight up brag.
It was just that I did it. I did it. but yeah, like it gets nuts. At one point, he brings out a 7-chamber revolver. He's like, "We're gonna play Russian roulette. And that's your torture this time." And so I just had to gamble on it. Like he was like 1 in 7, and you piss him off, and he takes a shot. And I was like, every time wincing. And the devs are standing behind me, and they're all wincing too, because I had to take 3 of them. I had to just like straight up, all right, take 3 shots on me, basically, because I couldn't get out of the situation until 3 shots had gone by. So, but I didn't die. I thought I could have. It was intense. I mean, for a video game that's a point and click with pixelated graphics, like a side-scrolling situation where it's mostly reading, it was a pretty intense experience, and I think it'll be pretty interesting when it's all
said and done.
All dulled. Yeah, I mean, like the tagline says, there's no good and evil, there are no right and wrong answers. It's just how you choose to go through the situation.
Right. What's
important to you. And they mentioned, like, for example, when you're doing the marooned one where you're trying to survive, if you don't care about the characters, then if they're just pixels on a screen, then it's super easy. And you'll get through fine, because you're like, I'll eat that dude and that dude. That guy's not useful.
That guy's kind of heavy. He'll feed us for a while.
It's like whatever, because it doesn't matter to you. But if you get to the point where those things do matter, like I read a few articles before I went, people talking about how they like struggle mightily not to kill the dog, even though the dog really does not have a ton of use to the team in that scenario.
Hasn't that always been something with gamers, though? I mean, think back on it. You know, you remember in Fable 3.
Everybody tries to save the dog.
Everybody tries to save the dog.
Oh, yeah, for real.
And in Fable 3, I mean, you could even, you know, you could, like I remember, I knew people that played through the game a whole time again just to go back and save so the dog would live.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
No, I mean, that's kind of an old tactic. People love dogs.
Yeah.
Dogs are kind of innocent.
Hitler loved dogs.
Well, exactly. Dogs are innocent. And that's why in every movie the dog gets killed, because it's like a gut-wrenching thing.
It's
exactly.
Easy.
So, yeah, I mean, that's kind of an interesting thing to throw in there. I think that's probably why they chuck that dog in there.
Right.
Because you're like, oh, I can't hurt the dog.
No, save the dog.
So, yeah. So, I mean, if you care about those things, then you're going to end up with a very interesting experience that you may or may not be able to control, which is what makes it fun. What? Why are you laughing?
Oh, this mental picture. I could just see some guy playing that game, you know. Quick, save the dog. The dog is delicious.
Aw.
Oh, it's too bad.
Yeah, like
that's unfortunate.
It was a very difficult game. In a number of ways. Surviving the torture was really hard, and I think that people will have an interesting play through on it when it's all said and done. I didn't get a chance to play the other scenarios, but I'm gonna try and get in touch with them and make that happen and write some stuff about it, because I thought it was cool.
So that's the game.
Sorry, that was a lot
for the most part. I mean, that we, you know, the thing about a show like PAX is that no matter how much time you have on the floor, no matter how much walking around you do, and how much you try, you're never going to play everything.
Yeah, no matter how many Mass Effect cosplayers you see.
Oh, finish your drink.
Yeah. Get your money's worth
Speaking
out of
Speaking of cosplayers, great year for cosplay this year.
Oh yeah,
ton of it. PAX is always just replete with good cosplay, and we saw a lot.
Saw Powdered Toast Man today.
Powdered Toast Man
from Ren and Stimpy.
Powdered Toast Man. He was
cool.
there. Yeah. Well, in fact, we're gonna have a gallery of some of the cool cosplay that we saw.
Yep.
And you'll definitely see it on the site and I promise you, Powdered Toast Man will be there. But I mean, there was some amazing cosplay there. Everything from, you know, there was an entire cast of Borderlands 2 characters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I saw so many people that had weapons larger than me.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Yeah, there are a lot of good ones. I'm trying to think now. I mean, and what's cool about PAX is that, as related to video games as it is, it draws a lot of other cosplayers from a lot of different things.
I saw Professor Layton cosplay.
I saw a, what's his name from Watchmen? Dude with the face. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
What the hell is his name now? I can't.
I saw Deadpool like 3 times.
Yeah, lots of Deadpools. I'm sorry, everybody. You can make fun of me in the comments, but I'm blanking on the dude with the hat and the Rorschach.
Yeah.
Rorschach. I saw him. It's not even. That was pretty anticlimactic when
when I went to play Magicka Wizard Wars, there was a guy playing Magicka that was in the full Magicka getup with black thing over his face, so you couldn't see his face.
Yeah.
It was amazing. But he was talking, so it was kind of bizarre at the same time.
You're ruining
it. You're not doing it right. You're not supposed to be speaking incoherent English.
Yeah.
Yergy Vergy. I'm trying to think. There were some great other cosplay. I saw Raziel.
Raziel
was amazing. As a longtime fan of Soul Reaver, that was a 2 thumbs up kind of a thing.
A couple of good Warhammer ones.
The one guy. If you go back to our
dude twice.
If you go back to our cosplay gallery from last year, there's a picture of a guy in really amazing Warhammer 40k armor, and the same guy was back this year, but he took his armor and he like upped it a notch. He put like skulls all over one of the shoulder pieces that lit up, the eyes and the mouth lit up. And then the second day he showed up in a different set of Warhammer power armor.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I mean...
there's a dude who was dressed as Mr. T.
Yeah, there was Mr. T. I mean, there's so many costumes at a PAX, and so many of them are so good. Like, there are a million WoW cosplayers that were there.
Yeah, but lots of comics, a few TV shows, and I saw a number of Mal Reynolds from Firefly.
I didn't see those.
I saw 2 or 3 Yunas from Final Fantasy X.
I saw
lots of good ones.
2 complete teams of Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, like
really good Ghostbusters.
Alternate groups of Ghostbusters.
Yeah, they were really good.
Yep.
A couple of Princess Zeldas, a couple of Links. You know, and then that doesn't even count the official cosplayers. Like, did you see the guy from WildStar, the great big little robot looking dude?
I didn't.
This guy right here in this picture.
Nice.
Yeah. See it? No, wait, you can't see it.
That's pretty cool.
So he was walking around and hanging out with Raziel, which was pretty amazing.
Yeah, nice.
So there was a lot of fun going on there.
It's a good show.
And if you paid attention, I'm pretty sure that we put that it's already been on Facebook, but we had Gordon Freeman was there. It's just been some really, it's a really fun show. As you know, if you're into video games in any way, shape, form, or fashion, if you ever get a chance to go to PAX, you should definitely go at least once.
Yeah.
If you don't believe me, this was Phil's first PAX, and I think he would probably agree.
Yeah, I had a good time.
There were a lot of good panels. There were.
We were on a couple good panels.
We were on a couple of amazing panels.
Just gotta say. We didn't get to talk about that yesterday, but
yeah, we did.
Ron, we mentioned them. Wait, did we?
Yeah, we talked about them on Friday night's podcast. We definitely did.
No, you're right.
You didn't get to talk about yours because yours didn't take place until Saturday.
Yeah.
So Phil was on a panel on Saturday where they talked about games that were so bad they're actually good, which is kind of a misleading title.
It's hard. I mean, the idea was sort of, there are those horror movies, and lots of them are horror movies, but they don't have to be. That the acting, the camera work, the CGI, it's all the writing is all so terrible that a lot
of them are cult classics.
Yeah, exactly. You don't enjoy the movie on the basis of what the movie's attempting to do, but how it's failing to
do what it is attempting to do.
Yeah. So the panel's premise was to apply that to video games, and I don't know. I find that,
which is really hard.
Yeah, I find that doesn't really happen all that often. I was saying on the panel that especially as somebody who has to review games, it's very rare that you come across a game that's like, oh, this game is terrible, but I'm having such a good time. Like, doesn't really happen. Usually a game sucks.
Well, I mean, what's the definition of a terrible game? Usually it's something doesn't work right.
Right.
Or the story's really bad.
Right.
Or both. Or the mechanics are broken.
Well, and that's somebody mentioned on the panel that with movies, well, first of all, you're only in it for like 90 minutes. And it's this awkwardness where you feel bad for the people who are involved, and yet it's already too late for them,
Right.
And so there's this really interesting.
They can't be salvaged,
but like it doesn't bore you or frustrate you or irritate you the way a video game can, because you are forced through it.
Right.
The interactivity.
Part of it is that in a movie it's a passive experience, whereas in a video game it's an active experience.
So it makes it a lot easier to enjoy a failure of a movie under the right circumstances than a failure of a video game, because if a video game fails the right way, then it doesn't work. And
so, I think something else is, in the case of a movie, if you go to a movie that's failing, but it still makes you laugh, right, you feel like you got some out of your investment.
Yeah.
You're 10, 11, however much your movie tickets are, wherever you may live today. Whereas with a video game, if the video game
it's
fails,
also much more expensive.
You've sunk $60 into it, assuming it was a new game, and you got nothing to show for it except this broken-ass game.
Right. So, but we did come up with some really good ones that the panelists talk about. Like Deadly Premonition came up.
Deadly Premonition is kind of the premise for the whole thing.
It's kind of it's the poster child. And then Bob Chapman, Movie Bob, he was talking mostly. He pointed out that basically any NES game almost will do the job. He talked about Ninja Gaiden, which is like actually broken in some ways to make it impossible.
Yeah.
And this kind of game that you wish he didn't. He made this great joke where he was like, he thought that calling the Nintendo helpline was part of the game. Like that was just how it was supposed to work.
Right.
And no, it was just a broken game.
Well, and for those of you, for the younger listeners of the podcast, what Phil's talking about,
right,
Nintendo once maintained a helpline, and then whenever you bought
for years they did.
Whenever you bought a Super Nintendo or
NES game,
any NES game, on the back of the manual, it would say For game hints, call 1-800 or 1-900.
I think it was 1-900.
I think it was 1-900, 1-900 whatever, and it's $1 per hint or something.
Right.
And you would call up and tell them what game you're on, and they would say, well, "What are you stuck on?" They'd give you a hint, and it would cost your parents $1. And many children got grounded over that.
Yeah. I never actually called that number. I wonder if it still runs.
We should find out. We should
We're
find out.
doing that tomorrow.
Research. I'm pretty sure we can expense that.
Yeah. Well, we'll update you guys. Next
more to
week's
come. More to come.
The upcoming week's podcast when we've called it
later this week's
Nintendo.
podcast.
Yeah,
whatever.
Exactly. Anyway, yeah. So, and he was talking about how, like, it was just Nintendo Power Maps and calling the Nintendo Power Helpline seemed to be
Power.
They seem to be just what you needed to do in order to play the game correctly. And no, that's not the case. The game should not require you to call a helpline in any sense. That's bad game design. That's not good game design. So I myself talked about Metal Gear, the franchise.
Ooh.
I know, and everybody was kind of like, ooh, but then by the end, I feel like most everybody kind of bought into where I was going with it, which is just that as much fun as I've had with Metal Gear over the years, tonally, the game is all over the place.
It's a mess.
It's so crazy. And like, again, Bob was like, that's not a bug, that's a feature, and I agree. It is supposed to be weird, clearly, because they wouldn't make it as weird as they do if it wasn't supposed to be weird. But it's so weird. It's just crazy to be.
It's not just a little weird.
It's crazy to be talking about child soldiers and also a dude who can't stop pooping, like, in the same game. It's so nuts that Liquid Snake died and Revolver Ocelot put his arm on him, and now he gets possessed by Liquid sometimes. Like, that's just weird. There's so much weirdness.
The whole thing with Vlad.
All the stuff with Vlad. All the stuff with Otacon.
Yeah,
I talked about Otacon all through the panel because this is a dude who, the first time you meet him, a ninja with cyborg powers ran through and murdered all his friends. Right? in his office. Snake fights him. Then Snake comes to meet him and he's peed himself. And then they become friends during the course of this conversation, and Otacon explains otaku to him. And that's how the conversation ends.
Yeah.
Begins with ninja murder and ends with an explanation of what Otacon's name and what his name means. and then I told this other story. We were playing Ground Zeroes not long ago, and we had this great moment because the other thing that's goofy about Metal Gear is not so much its fault as kind of a greater thing that happens in stealth genre is just stealth mechanics
in general
can make for goofy situations when people like wander off and they lose track of you and they're like, oh, what are these weird footprints? I guess nothing. And, that's funny. It is amusing. It's not real, and therefore it's funny. We had this great moment where we were fleeing in the base in Ground Zeroes, and we had a bunch of guys chasing us, and our contributor, I was playing with Phil Owen, and we were having a good time. He dives into this little, like, drainage ditch almost, right? It's this little tunnel, like 2x2 tunnel. It's literally, it's got a grate on top of it, right? It's 2 feet deep at the most. It's deep enough for Snake to lay in it and evade people. That's what it exists for. And they know we're there. They can probably see us. And they're like, but nobody can get us in this tunnel. They're throwing grenades into it and failing to kill us. Nobody can get us in this tunnel because the soldiers, I guess, don't have knees, basically, is what it comes down to. Nobody can duck down and put their gun into this freaking tunnel to kill them. So, and that's just, because that's the way the game's built. And then, after a few minutes, they're like, well, I'm going to go have a sandwich. Time for my coffee break. Someone else will deal with you. And they just bug off. And so that's why I picked Metal Gear. There's a lot of fun goofiness, and the mechanics are fun. And it is occasionally the kind of game where you can't help but laugh at it. Because it is kind of failing a little bit.
I mean, anybody that played Metal Gear Solid 4
right.
knows that game will make you laugh from time to time.
Right.
I mean, that game is... When you get to about the halfway point of Metal Gear Solid 4 and they start reaching out and grabbing all the threads from all the years of Metal Gear and trying to tie them all up.
Not just tie them, but retcon anything that doesn't line up.
I just tie them, but cut them off and put them into pretty bows.
Yeah. No, it's just like... Some of it really works. Some of Metal Gear is really great. I mean, I think that Metal Gear Solid 3's story and the way it concludes, the big twist in that game is super good. But then there, like I said, there are other moments where they're just like crazy talk, you know, and then just 2 hours of us explaining to you nanomachines and but then you hide under a box and nobody knows where you are. And like it's just goofiness. All of it is. And so yeah, like if you were to go for realism, Metal Gear is not where you would turn. And that's kind of what makes it so bad it's good sometimes.
Yeah.
I had a really good time on that panel. It was a lot of fun. We talked about Far Cry 2, talked about a few other games. It was it was a good time.
Well, I mean, that's kind of one of the other good things about PAX is that the panels can be really fun. If you can,
It's packed too.
They're always packed. That's the great thing about PAX is that there's so many people here that everybody there's always somebody that wants to see every panel. Whether it's by the way, they had a Mass Effect costume thing.
Oh no,
today,
yeah, I'm aware. I know the people
weekend.
who are doing that. It's the cast cosplay initiative.
Yeah,
they,
it was
had
really
cast
neat.
There.
It was really cool.
Kimberly
and then they had a
Brooks was there.
photo
I think
session.
Mark Mirabent was there too.
He was,
and I'm not sure who else.
By the way, that was a Mass Effect reference. So go ahead and finish your drink.
I didn't actually go, so I'm not sure who they brought. But I'm pretty sure I saw on Twitter that at least
I do know Mark Mir was there for a fact.
Yeah.
I saw
and
it.
I definitely saw a photo of Kimberly Brooks. And I think a couple of the other cast members were there too, which is awesome. It was super cool. They've been working really hard on that for a while now.
I mean, it was really...
That's cool.
It's just one of those things. I mean, PAX is full of things like that. So it's been a great show. We've had a really good weekend.
Let's wrap it up. It's time for bed.
And our feet hurt, and we're ready to go to bed and get ready to get on the airplanes and go home. But hopefully you got to come to PAX, or you learned a little something about PAX from us. So until later this week, hopefully, we hope you have a great day.
Yeah,
and thanks for listening. Don't forget to head on over to gamefront.tk. Check out our PAX coverage, which will be starting to hit tomorrow at some point.
Stay tuned. We're going to be rolling it out all week as we finish it because it's going to take some time.
Yeah.
Sorry.
And we're also going to have some stuff hitting the YouTube channel, youtube.com/gamefront. You can follow us on Twitter at gamefrontcom, or you can just drop us an email and say, what the hell are you people talking about, by sending an email to podcast@gamefront.com. So thanks everyone for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye-bye.